Yo, what's up? What's up? It's Nick Boucher here at your friend in business B2B sales podcasts coming in hot today on a not so beautiful day at the lake. I was driving through the neighborhood and I was like, dang, that water looks murky. It's like dirty, murky January. Isn't dirty, murky January like everyone's thought process? It's like January dooms coming off amazing years of sales, or maybe not the greatest, depending on who you are and what you were doing. Um, but it's murky out there. It's murky waters. It's like, what does the future bring to your business, and what does it bring to your career this year in 2024 when you look at sales in general, how things are rocking and rolling, or how things are kind of shaping out. If you're nervous about it, what things kind of look like, kind of what what attitude you take towards things. And so at the end of the day, it's like, um, what can you do that is in front of you that ultimately can change that murky water to crystal clear and beautiful water? And I keep thinking about it, like, what have I done in the past? What have I done in my business to know that success is going to happen? Like, ultimately, the number one thing that keeps coming into my mind, and the number one thing that keeps kind of going back, is partnership rapport. We're building rapport with your customers, building rapport with your clients, building rapport internally, which, by the way, the word rapport, Ropport, it's strange. It looks weird. It's a weird word. I don't know if it's French, whatever it is. I think it might be French. Who knows what the word rapport is? But Rapport, port, at the port, rapport, maybe rapport, but rapport, right? So, what does it mean to build rapport? How do you build rapport? How do you start building rapport? How do you create rapport to your customers, your partners? How do they get to trust you? And how do they, if you haven't talked to them in a while and they don't feel confident in you, how do you deliver good rapport? And it's all about conversations that relate to people. And I had one of my internal colleagues reach out to me who she's been promoted into a new space, and she's been doing the partnership space for a while and been very successful at it, and got a next level of promotion, which I'm excited for her and what she's doing. And she reached out to me as a someone that she kind of looks up to in regards to maybe just the business in general, but just having like this good rapport. And she says, "Hey, do you still have that questionnaire that you used to have around how you ask questions to your partners?" And they're not questions like, how long you've been in business, like why did you just choose the business. It's more about what decisions you have in life and what's your hobbies and what do you like to do, and just things that people want to hear. They want to hear themselves, like they want to have real conversations with you as a person, as a professional. They want to relate to you, and asking questions that are meaningful, that are, actually come back to you and say, "Oh, that's a really great question. Like, I haven't thought about that in a while. Like, why is he asking this question? Like, what's the end result?" And the end result is just, I want to learn about you. I want to learn about what you do, how you do it, what you enjoy doing. Had a great conversation with the client yesterday, partner client, and we talked a little bit about market, talked a little bit about his business and how he's been, but the real story was about how he came into the business of selling, and how he was there for 18 years of his business, very successful in a multi-billion dollar company today. Saw the ups and downs, and he was just telling us how he decided to move off that business and go to another one, and what his decision process was like. And he talked about riding in the train and going back and forth every day from from about a 30-40 minute train ride, and how much time he had to think about it. And I think of times where you have in the car, right? I don't know how many people are driving back into the office or driving somewhere, but how much downtime do you have to think about how you're going to build rapport and how you're going to set expectations and what questions you're going to ask to people? And I think during that thought process and time that you have inside your mind to shape out those questions, it really kind of gives you insight on how people are trying to do, and it gives them empathy about who you are as a person, and it really provides that passion of who and why you've been working together, and what's important to the person, right? What's important to fostering trust? What's important to, have mutual understanding? And how do you demonstrate that? Like, that's such an important way to do it. And then how do you like convey empathy? Like, you can build rapport and trust, but how do you get in the situation where you convey and you understand what they're going through? And it's all about storytelling. It's all about relating and something that you've done that maybe you can share together. And it might not be positive, it might be something a bad negative experience. Maybe it was a positive experience. So whatever it may be, it's really relating to that person and having the situation that says, yeah, I've been in that situation too. And, I'd love to talk about it with you. I mean, yes, we're eventually going to do business together, but right now I really just want to relate to you. And I want to, empathize what you are doing. And I think when you're, let's say you're an ADR or SDR, you're making phone calls all day long to prospects. I think sometimes we forget as salespeople to build rapport, to just say hello. That person on the other side of the phone is expecting you to sell them something or telling them something they need to do, instead of like being a human being and being empathy or maybe they had a tough morning. Maybe their kids were driving them crazy in the morning, or maybe their car broke down, or maybe, something happened to them, or maybe they missed the train, maybe they missed the appointment. um, Tell them that story. Be empathetical to their situation, because every day is different. Some people, and the murky waters can stay murkier if you don't build rapport with somebody. And so I highly recommend practicing empathy, and once you do, and don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to go off script. I mean, I know there's so many companies out there that have this script of, hey, this is what you need to say, and this is how you say it, and this is the best way to do it. And I frankly, the scripts are good. I'm sure they work, but you can't get to the script until the person wants to listen to what you have to say. And so until they want to listen to what you have to say, you have to create empathy to that person. And it's really about building that relationship about what their experience was. There's got to be a situation that you can relate to that situation and talk about it. And then, really care to hear about it, not just like act like you do. Oh, yeah, 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 laugh, laugh, laugh. You really have to share and treat every customer with respect. We lost I don't know, it was a huge deal over Christmas. It was an $80,000 deal. Um, it wasn't going to make or break my year. We had already hit it, but it was going to make or break one of my reps' years, and it was big for her. I wanted her to get it. We had done all the requirements, we hit all the benchmarks, we built all the plans, we got the proposal, we got them to sign off, we did all the legal requirements, we did everything that we possibly can. And then she comes back with the email and says, and after she's told us she's going to sign a couple times, she's like, yeah, you know what? We're not ready. Like, I have a couple more things I thought about. I need to run it by my CEO. He's not involved yet, and we need to talk to him. So we're not going to sign by the end of the year. And it just crushed her, and it crushed us. And I felt bad for her. I really felt empathy for her. And I felt I've been in the situation before. I knew that I had been in the situation, and I told her, like, this is something I've happened to me in 2018. Like, I had set the same stage. I was ready to go, and this guy just wouldn't pull the trigger, even though he's told me a couple times. And it was difficult to take in. And what happened to me was I learned from it. And I should have taken my learnings and pushed it harder on her to say, just next year it'll come. Like in January it'll come. But I kept on supporting the push and supporting her going the distance. And we messed up. We sent an email to the CEO of the company, and it backfired on us because she didn't want to go over the top of her head, but we had positioned the executive summary to the CEO. The CEO has never been in the buy, and that really, devastated the opportunity for us to get the deal. And she was mad. She sent an email like 2 days before New Year's and was like, I can't believe you did this. Like, why would you go ahead above my head? And why would you send this email to my CEO? And she's just mad. She's like, I don't know if I ever want to do business with people like this. And I don't blame her. We did go above and beyond, and it was it was my call. Like I made that mistake of giving the email to my VP to send that out because it was my research. I knew how to do it. I got the person's email, got the CEO's email, and I agreed upon it, even though in my back of my mind I knew it was wrong. And today I made a phone call to that CFO, and I literally left probably a minute and a half and 2 minute message of sending empathy and sorrow and sorry for potentially going over our head. And it wasn't the message I was trying to do. I was just trying to get information. I felt that we had done everything we could from the requirement standpoint to get this deal, and frankly, it was a mistake, and I'm sorry. And I said, I understand you don't want to do business with us again. And if you do, obviously I would really appreciate that conversation again, but I completely understand. And we'll see what she says of that. But I wanted to treat her with respect of, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened. I made a bad call. I made this decision and I shouldn't have. And I don't know. It's always about treating customers with respect. And you always have to start. And frankly, I'm trying to get even better with this, but I'm a smiley, happy person 95% of the time, right? So, I mean, I go in with my glass like like almost full over. No matter what the situation, I'm always going in with a positive attitude for the most part. But then I find myself sometimes just going, dang, dude, I'm negative today. Like I'm going in and start some calls in a negative way. Like it's hard. You have to start a call with a smile. You have to make somebody on the other side be happy. You have to understand that they're probably in a bad situation or they didn't want to talk to you. So give them a reason to talk to you. Give them a smile on the other side of the coin. And so I think a smile goes a million miles. And if you have a great smile and people like resonate to it, then keep giving them that smile and they'll keep wanting to be around you. It's just like having it's just like building rapport with your friends is the same you want to build with your clients. And so I highly recommend starting every conversation with a smile. If you don't, it goes negative really fast and can be detrimental to your business and your relationships as you move forward. So I always say, demonstrate every call with a smile. And then, you ultimately want to know your customers. That's why I was mentioning that questionnaire that I had sent over to my colleague about the questionnaire. The questionnaire is simple. It's just a bunch of questions that you should have lined up to ask people about, like your normal everyday questions that are, they're not overwhelming. They're not like crazy. They're not like, oh my God, these are so amazing questions. They're just, they're simple. They're just, get to know your partner. Like, what inspires you to start work in the industry you're in? Like what inspired you to be in the technology space? What inspired you to be in the software space? Like that's always an easy question just to kind of get the ball rolling. And then, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Like what's your superpower? Like mine, my superpower is my smile. Like I just was talking about. Like I feel like my energy and my superpower has always been my smile to people and setting up the situation. But others have other superpowers. So ask them that. What is your superpower? And then, something around, what's your most adventurous thing you've ever done? Like what is an experience that you always, it's your go-to story or your go-to thing or your favorite thing that you love to do? And then ultimately, what's your favorite movie or book? You know how many times you can resonate with somebody about a book, or a movie that you can have conversation about. Maybe it's a Netflix show that you both watch. Like, how awesome is it to relate? You probably talk to your mom or your dad on the phone about Netflix all the time. Like, relate to somebody around a movie or a show or a book that you love, and that's always great. And then ultimately relate to them around travel. Like, I mean, I haven't traveled outside the US, but I always start with that. Like, hey, have you ever traveled outside the US? Like, I have never been to Europe and I've always wanted to. And tell me a little bit about it. Like, have you been? And people love that. Or you can relate. Maybe they say they're in Austin, or maybe they went to California. Like, I just came back from a partner event in California and I was in OC, the Orange County, for a little while. And I hadn't been in forever. And it was great to relate to people and have that conversation. And then think about, like, what's the best advice you ever received? Like, who is your mentor? Like, who gives you great advice? Like, who is your go-to person if you're down and out? Like, that's always great to do. And then, what do you do? Oh, man, this is a great one. I was talking to my sister today on the way into work, and she was like, I'm like, what do you do at the end of the day when you just need to unwind after just all this mental, stuff with your kids and your family, and her husband's bills losing over the weekend, which was complete debacle. I don't want to even go down that road path, but what's your favorite way to unwind? What is your favorite way to kind of loosen up? My wife and I like to have a glass of wine at the end and watch our favorite show, or just sit there, and she's getting into reading a books now. And so some way to unwind and get your mind off things. And then, what do you do for hobbies, like interests? What do you like to do? Like, my big thing I've always talked about is playing frisbee golf. Like, I love to get out there, get in the woods and play frisbee golf. But on getting outdoors can relate to somebody. Getting outside. What do you like to do outside work? Maybe other people like to do, reviews on Amazon, or maybe they like to start their own business. Maybe they're doing a podcast like I'm doing right now. I don't know. And then, a couple other ones, just like, what's your, who's your favorite historical figure? Who's your favorite sports person of all time? Or who's your favorite, like, athlete or politician, whatever it may be. Like, that question can be so vague, but it can open up such great conversations. And then a couple other ones, like, what's your favorite food? Like, what do you like to eat? Do you like to cook? Like, that kind of stuff. And then one of the biggest ones I love to get is, what do you find is a rewarding experience in your career? Like, what have you found, like, rewards you? Do you want money? Do you want a trip? Do you want recognition? Like, what do you strive to achieve? And that's the kind of go-to questions. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's definitely something that you want to write down and have at your fingertips to just relate to people. And so, it just helps you to get to know your partners, right? Helps you get to know who you are and what you do. And more importantly, it's just a way to open dialogue and open conversation. And so I love that. I love being able to share that. Just get to know them as a person, right? And I think, as a person, you have to be yourself. You can't pretend to be somebody else. You can't pretend that you've done all these things when it's not true. Maybe you just started the business, or you've been at the business forever. You can't pretend like, oh yeah, I'm so good at this stuff, or I know all the back ends of reporting, or I've been doing analysis, when you actually haven't done any of that stuff. Like, lying to your customers about your expertise is going to get you caught at some point. Like, if you don't know your industry, then stop talking about it. Like, learn about it before you share those stories. Like, be yourself. If you don't know, it's okay to say, listen, I don't know that answer. Like, I definitely can get back to you on it, but I just don't know. Like, I'm not really sure. It's not that difficult. Be yourself. And by the way, stop standing in the corner. Go introduce yourself to people. Like, be a part of their ecosystem, especially if it's a group of different people. Like, you have to talk to everyone. Introduce yourself. Say who you are. Wear a badge. Get your name on a badge. Buy a badge and put your name on every event you go to. So people are like, oh, you're Nick. Oh, you're with X, Y, and Z company. Oh, great. That's awesome. How long have you been there? Like, it just opens a conversation. Get a badge and name tag on it, or wear a magnet, or wear something around your neck that says your name. And it's easy to say, oh, hey, Nick, how you doing? Oh, I've heard of your company before. That's really an easy way to set yourself up for success. Is, be yourself, be who you are, be true to what you do, and be true to your story. Because you start venturing off onto other stories that aren't yours, you get caught real fast. This is a big one for me too. Like, complimenting. Like, people have gone away from complimenting people. Like, you need to be genuinely able to compliment. Like if you don't start a conversation or at any point compliment somebody, like, man, that's a really pretty shirt. Like, I love that shirt. Like, where did you get it? Like, cool glasses. Like, I always get compliments on the glasses. My one of my partners in crime at Avalera, like, hey, where'd you get those glasses? I want to get those. Like, those are super cool. Like where, some people are like, dude, where'd you get that stuff? Like, I would never wear that stuff. People also give me bad backwards compliments, or maybe they just make fun of me all the time. But you gotta be genuine. You have to be genuine in your compliments. And it's something where you may want to just overly compliment people because they may have not gotten a compliment in a long time. Maybe you give compliments too much, but who cares? More is better than none. Like, I'll tell you that right now, more is better than none. If you don't give compliments, shame on you, because it goes a long way to say you're doing a good job. Like, this is awesome. Like, I'm Mr. Compliment. Like, I can put it on my shirt and say you're doing a great job. Maybe I don't think you are sometimes, but I'm really going to give them a good shout out because it gets people in a positive way and believes that you're believing them. And so, um, offer compliments to your customers about their business. Like, do some research and be like, hey, I just saw, you guys won an award for X, Y, and Z, or for this particular technology, or you done this, or you guys got this, or you achieved this. It's so good to offer that compliment and tell them, wow, I've seen you grow 20% a year over year. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's awesome. Like, that's such an important thing, is to give compliments in the rapport building. Um, I would also say, like, use their name. If you start talking to somebody and you forget their name in 3 seconds, like, it's a bad look, man. Like, dude, what's your name? Like, remind me again what your name is. Like, w- I don't remember you. Like, I keep a magnetic card on me. Like, people love it. Like, it's a business card. And so sometimes I forget their name. I'm not gonna say remember every name. It's a trick I do. Like, I say their name out loud a couple times after they introduce themselves. Like, I immediately say, hey, Brandon, what's up, man? Oh, Brandon, what are you doing here? Brandon, you going there? Once you say their name a couple times, you got it locked. But sometimes I forget. So my go-to is I got a magnetic business card that they can scan, and I can say, hey, here's my name. Maybe you forgot it. I don't know. I mean, people may forget my name, and I recognize that. So, dude, you might have forgot my name. Here's my business card, my email. Can you put your name and send me it right now? And so they'll send me a text right there, or they'll send me an email and contact me right there. And so now you have them locked in, and they got your email and they got your number. If you build enough rapport, people are going to give you their business contact information. I mean, that's just the way it is. We got like 14,000 or 15,000 followers. It's not because of this podcast, which, probably get, I don't know, 50 to 100 listeners tops. I don't even know how many I get, but I don't do it for myself. But if you're listening, great. But the key is really just all about your contacts, right? Who you make contacts with. 14, 15,000 people is a lot. I mean, that's not a joke. I don't have those people just because I'm just connecting with them just to do it. I know, either known them, or they met me, or I met them through somewhere else, or they worked with me in the past, or whatever. Like, there's ways to make contacts that you don't need to know those people's best friends. Like, you just need to know they know you, and that's it. And that's huge. That goes a long way. But use your name. I also use my own, like, kind of branding name. You're a friend in business. I've been using for 20 years in my sales. It's not something I just randomly decided to say, oh, we're going to be your friend in business. Your friend in business has been with me for 20 years. I used it at Time Warner. I used it at yellowpages.com. I used it at the advertising business journals that I worked at. I did it at Apple. I've been doing it at Avalera. I mean, everywhere I've been, AT&T, I used it everywhere. Like, somebody at that company knows that I was your friend in business, and I branded it. And so when you use your name in some light, people are going to remember you. And so I think it's important to use your name, remember their name, and, make sure you capture their information. Like, dude, I can't tell you how many times people don't have contact information of their buyers. Like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you have their contact information? Like, you have their office number. You've been working with these people 4, 5, 6 calls, and you can only give me an extension to their office number. Like, how's that possible? Like, you need to get their cell phone number. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not building rapport. And if they don't, then they don't trust you. They don't trust to give you that information, and that's unfortunate. Um, Here's a big one. Like, here is a massive one. Like, dude, if you're not listening to people, like if you're talking to somebody and you're not listening or you're looking away. I was talking to a same colleague last night. Like, dude, when you're not looking at somebody on camera or you're not looking at somebody in person and you're looking off or you're not paying attention, like people can tell. Like it's like people know that, dude, this guy's not paying attention to me whatsoever. Like I don't even know why I'm talking to him. So you got to bring him back. Like stop talking for a second and be like, "Hey, dude, like are you listening to me? Like what's going on?" Like if you can stop for a second and say, "Damn, I've been talking for a long time. No one's listening to me." Then that's shame on you. But I mean, you got to actively listen to somebody talking. And you got to remember points that are important to them and you got to write them down. Like, especially if you're having conversations with people, write this shit down. Like, why are you not writing? So I was talking to my mom, like my mom, she doesn't write dates down like ever. I'm like giving her dates. Like, mom, how many more times do I have to give you the dates of my kids' soccer? It's like you never write stuff down. I was kidding with my sister today about it, but like write stuff down. Like it's not that difficult. Like I mean, you have a phone, you have an iPhone, write stuff in your notes field. If you like to use that magic pad or whatever the hell you want to use, listen to what the people are saying, write it down, and then reference that. If you don't want to listen the whole time and you want to pretend you're listening, cool. But make some bullet points so you can bring up topics again that you actually they were caring about. And if they raise their voice or lower their voice, or they start looking kind of delusional, or you're looking delusional, then dude, you're not listening. So get back into the craft of actively listening. You should also listen to yourself. So, I mean, if you're recording calls, you have the capabilities to record calls on Zoom, or you record calls on Gong, or you record calls internally, or you're going to use, if you're an SDR, ADR, and you're making cold calls and you're practicing a script, like record yourself and listen to it because you probably sound like shit. And like, man, my first couple podcasts I did, this is my 25th or 30th. I don't know how many I've done. I sound way better in my opinion, but maybe not. But people have told me that I sound way better. I'm more prepared. I have a better conversation with people and I can kind of relate to the conversation, move it forward as opposed to being a little stumpy. But I think if you listen to yourself and you go back and say, damn, I need to start kind of making sure that I know what my craft is. If you say, I don't need to listen to myself, like I'm like, I heard one of my reps say, like, I don't believe in game tape. Bro, you love sports. Like, you don't listen to yourself. You don't listen to other people. Like, you just think you're the best. Like, that's not a good look. Like, dude, you need to listen to yourself. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. This is your business. This is your craft. This is what you make your money on. Like sports professionals make money on playing sports. You make professional money on being a salesperson. So I would recommend that you may listen to yourself because I listen to you and you talk too much. So you probably should realize that people aren't listening to you. Like they're not listening to you. And maybe you should get a next step, a calendar scheduled, or maybe you should stop complaining. Like those are things that you need to do. Or hey, it's not hard to say maybe what I just said there isn't true. Maybe I should get some fact findings on that. Those are huge keys. But if you're just constantly thinking you're the greatest and you're not listening to yourself, then man, shame on you. I mean, that's a big part. You want people to listen to you, then you should start listening to other people. So that's my rant on active listening. I think that's huge. But you also got to be friendly, right? You got to be friendly to people. I think one of the biggest pieces on Zoom in the last 3 or 4 years is like people can tell posture. People can tell if you're interested in them by the way you're engaged on video, the way that you're moving, if you're back, if you're forward, if your hands are crossed, if you're looking away, if you have bad background. Here's the thing on background. I don't know. This is me. Like a background tells a story of somebody. Like people want to know where the hell you are. I had a guy yesterday. We went through an entire proposal. Like I wasn't the lead. I'm just listening in as the leader. I'm adding my 2 cents when they're here. I'm supporting my reps. His last question, he's like, we're finished. My reps were finished. And his last question, he's like, oh, wait, one more question. He's like, Nick, where are you from? And I was like, wow, that's your last question before buying $100,000 package is where I'm from. That's your question, which I thought was just so interesting. He's like, yeah, he wanted to know what I did and where I'm from. I don't know why. I mean, I think he saw me on camera, listening, actively being part of his conversation, engaging in his business and knowing his business, which I prepared for. And I looked at him and said, well, that's so thank you for asking that question. I'm actually, I knew he was a golfer, which, you got to know some stuff. He had mentioned on the call before, and my rep had tipped me off. I said, I actually live nearly close to Pinehurst, which, by the way, is the biggest golf. If you know golf, Pinehurst is the capital of golf. And I was like, so I didn't say Raleigh. I said Pinehurst. And he's like, in his mind, he's like, oh, he likes golf. I don't need to say I like golf. I just said I live near Pinehurst instead of saying I live in Raleigh. It's just a way to relate. He's like, oh, dang, you live close to Pinehurst? Like, that's an awesome golf. I love golf. Like, I'm going to go golfing with my two sons who, by the way, go to Wake Forest. I'm like, oh, yeah, my daughter's looking at Wake Forest. Like, I know how expensive it is, man. You got to probably keep working for a little while. And I mean, it's a 60 to 75,000 cost for for school at Wake Forest. And he's like, yeah, he's like, this isn't the faint of heart for sure. I mean, I gotta keep working for a long time to get these three kids through college. And I was like, you're relating, you're being friendly, you're having good posture, you have positive tone, you're influenced by the speaker's influenced by you. Like, that's huge. Be simply friendly with these people because that's what they want to hear from you. They want to have friendly conversation. It's so important to be friendly. It's so important to listen. And you got to be clear, dude. If people think they listen, great, but if they don't understand what you're saying, man, that's a tough one, especially if you're selling complex deals or complex technology or a lot of moving parts. Like my space is a lot of moving parts. The compliance space is challenging. Like people, as a technology person, I know more about compliance and 90% of CPAs about certain things, like because I pay attention and I read and I know, but I can clearly define communication because I make it simple. It's all about simplicity. And if you make it complex as possible, people are like so confused, they don't buy. Matter of fact, the software Gong, which I was talking to my colleague about this as well, the software Gong can tell you if a client is confused after listening to an hour call. Like the software can be like, man, that client was confused based on what you said. It's pretty awesome, by the way. Like that's amazing technology to say, man. Your score was confusing. So straight up, you're so complex, and I don't understand what you're saying. So when you think you do, generally the machine is telling you don't, and the people on the other line aren't listening or they can't understand because your clear communication is way off. And then I'm big on mirroring and matching, right? So you have to mirror what they're saying and match a relationship that they've experienced. Meaning, what the person tells you, you mirror that, you say it back to them, and then you match a situation that they've been a part of, right? So, mirroring and then matching. Big technique, massive technique. People struggle on this one. They do because they can't get their mind to mirror a situation that they can relate to, right? They can't mirror that situation. They've never experienced that. Some people never leave their house, so they don't experience anything, but sometimes you can't mirror that situation, so you can't match a conversation. I've always told my reps, you got to have tons of stories, tons of stories to match a situation that they bring up. I did it yesterday. A guy I was talking to is a skier. He loves skiing. He loves going through the gates on skiing. Like those, I love watching. I ski. My dad used to take us to skiing. I matched that and then I mirrored it, his conversation, and then I matched it with a story related to his story about skiing and about my dad. And it's just an easy technique that people just can't do because their mind doesn't think that fast to mirror and then match. So another great thing to kind of really build. Stop saying you're sorry like before everything you do. Like, what are you sorry for? Like, you got to have a reason to say you're sorry. Like, if there is a constant sorry, then your real apology doesn't mean squat. So stop saying you're sorry. Use the word sorry for a really good reason, not something unseen or unknown. Somebody has to feel that you've done something to apologize to them. So, I mean, listen, my wife is very rarely apologizes. Okay. I don't know if many of your wives apologize. My wife very rarely apologizes. But when I get that sorry, damn, it means something. Like she's really sorry. Like that's awesome. Like I love my wife sorry. Like it's the greatest thing because she's never gonna say I'm sorry until she truthfully feels like she has to apologize. So stop saying you're sorry for stuff. Like that's the worst. The last big piece and building the rapport, getting out of the murky waters. And right now it's January. Dude, you got to break the ice. Like, get out, break the ice, get out there, start getting out on your calls, get out there and jump around, get out there and sabotage the situation, start breaking the ice with new people, get out, get going, get on it. Let's freaking get out this year and get making business rapport your number one responsibility. Because if you don't break the ice in January, come July, you are in deep, deep water. So, anyways, y'all, that's my story for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of January as it's coming to a close and the first month of the year, which is always a tough one. But get out there, get going, go close, and I will spit at you soon. All right, y'all. Cheers. Bye. Out.